Welcome back to another episode provided to you by the 2 a.m. podcast. Now, if you're wondering what brings you here, in this particular episode, we're going to be talking about prolonged fasting. And there's not a better time to do this than now because it is the holy month of Ramadan according to Islam and Muslims around the world.
Mm-hmm.
Prolonged fasting has been a very common practice once a year for about an entire month in the Islamic world. It's also being practiced in other religions.
Yep.
It doesn't have to be in month form, but prolonged fasting, which means
I think essentially prolonged fasting it's very simple. Just not eating food for an extended period of time.
Mhm.
And I usually classify that around the 24 plus hour mark.
yeah,
I mean, technically it's a prolonged fast if you go like 17, 18, 19 hours, but I like to consider that over the 24-hour.
yeah, that's fair enough. But in other words, prolonged is just prolonged.
Yeah.
So that means, if you can go a day without eating, good for you. I'm just
Yeah,
kidding. It
and
means more than that.
And we're definitely going to show you a bunch of evidence that
Yeah.
suggests that it's actually good for you to not eat for an extended period of time.
Yeah, and one of my favorites being the most common fact, in fact, is the immune system being fully restarted,
Yeah. Yeah.
flushed, whatever you want to call it. It's the healthiest you will be if you come out of this exactly in a good fast, right? Like not.
There's a right way and a wrong way to do a fast. But I mean, it's really astonishing all the benefits that are associated with fasting.
Yeah.
Because now we're going to explore different perspectives. We have the scientific perspective with all the studies. The one I want to cover right now with you is mainly the cultural religious perspective. So
Yeah.
I'm going to go through a few of the cultures that have fasting implemented into their routine. And then we can talk about Ramadan specifically and
100%. Yeah.
and all the benefits with that. But among the cultures that have used fasting and the religions, we have Hinduism, Buddhism, Christianity,
Yeah.
Islam, Judaism, Taoism, Native American cultures, Greek culture, traditional Chinese medicine, Ayurvedic medicine, and then European folk medicine.
Mhm.
And I'm sure that's not comprehensive, but it just goes to show how important fasting is
Mhm.
and why every religion/culture has implemented it into their
Yeah.
framework.
Yeah. So I want to start off by saying essentially my experience with it my entire life. I'm so sorry. I'm fasting, so my throat's a little dry.
We're actually both fasting.
Yeah. He's doing a complete
Food fast.
Food fast. I'm doing what is it called? A special fast. Let's just call it that.
You're doing technically a dry fast.
Yeah. It's a dry fast. We call it a special fast in Islam, actually.
Yeah.
Because there's an extra special step, too.
Mm-hmm.
The point of it is to be spiritually connected with Allah, which is Allah is an Aramaic word. Arabic means God. It doesn't mean, it's not his name or anything, but it just means God in Arabic.
Mm-hmm.
You'll be surprised. A lot of people don't know that.
Oh, yeah. I'm not surprised at all.
Yeah. So essentially, when you get into fasting, you ask yourself, what is the purpose of this? Right? Why am I going through so much hardship for me to eat again, right? And I'm gonna go back to my same habit and same whatever. But it's actually more than that. It's an act of balance in my mind.
Mm.
So if we take a full year, 365 days, we got 12 months. As a Muslim, we have 1 month where you're technically every night you're doing a dry fast, and you're either repenting, you're connecting with God, you're praying, and there's extra prayers during that month, right?
Yeah.
And that's when the community gets along and you start going to the mosques, and you have a fun time, literally bowing down to your God, right? You're thanking him for everything, for this meal, and all this good stuff. Now, what I have noticed is, besides the balancing act throughout life, is that the daily feeling that you get throughout the day, from the moment you wake up all the way until you go to sleep, right? So when you wake up, and some of us have routines like, you hit your vape in the morning, or you take a sip of water. Some people like to squirt a little lemon and then do some water. Some people just step outside completely and just completely dry it out until 11, right?
Yeah.
But if you have one of those routines, you get to see that it's not up to you anymore. it's you see the addiction within it. You see it from a third perspective because you're not allowed to, for the sake of God, eat or drink.
You're
Right?
forced to be more intentional
Yes.
about it.
And here's the cool thing. Okay, I pulled this up in my notes because it's 3 ranks of fasting,
Yeah.
according to Islam. Okay, and I'm going to say this just because this is my personal experience, but the 3 grades are as follows: there's ordinary fasting, there's special fasting, and extra special fasting. Now, what that means is ordinary fasting is abstaining from food, drink, and sexual satisfaction.
Okay.
Okay, that's very ordinary. And notice how it said drink. That means yes,
So-
water too. So that's the difference between us and other religions, is that some of them abstain from just certain amount of foods or certain things, but they're still kind of calorically there, right?
Yeah. They're still eating.
They're still eating. Yeah.
So with that ordinary fasting, I have a question about sex in particular.
Mm.
Is that not to be done during the fast itself, but can be done after the fast?
Yes.
Okay. So it's
Yeah.
just the same as food or water.
It's the same as food or water. Yeah. So you have like a certain amount of time. It's from sunrise, technically the Fajr prayer call, not even the sunrise, because you won't see the sunrise yet.
Mhm.
But there's a specific time where you stop eating. And that's where you stop eating. And then you continue on your fast. You go to sleep usually. And then you wake up in the morning and can't do anything until sunset. So once you see the sun set at a specific time, boom, you can eat again.
Yeah.
So with that, it's like you're more open to do things. Okay. Now, it gets a little tricky because just like everybody else, we sin. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Everybody sins. It's just, and it's a personal thing, right? Not everybody that sins is going to come out and be like, I'm a sinner, God forgive me. No, everyone's kind of just acting the same way. We're fasting, we're abstaining from a lot of things, and we're retraining our mind. We're retraining our spirit.
To connect
To
better
connect.
with God. Yeah.
Better with God, and not even just that, okay? Once that happens, you connect better with your peers. You connect better with your
It's very true.
significant others. Dude, it changes your complete world, and the amount of brain power you have and focus completely shifts. Like you become this energetic monster. You become like Leo Gura, bro. Like I feel like my head is huge right now, right?
We feel that right now.
I
Like we're just
really-
dialed in
yeah,
mentally.
Yeah, and it's amazing because I feel like if I want to feel like this all year, But how do we do that while eating? That's the tricky part. But anyway, let me go back to the 2nd grade of fasting. So we have the special fasting, which is the most common. It's special fasting means keeping one's ears, eyes, tongue, hands, and feet, and all other organs free from sin. So what does that mean? In a world of digital media and porn and women and dating and TV shows and productions and all this stuff, right? It's just very visual.
Yeah.
You abstain from that. You cannot do that. If you watch a TV show, you shouldn't even be watching a TV show if you're doing the extra special type of fasting, because your full focus right now is for God. It's for your Creator, right?
Yeah.
It's just 1 month. That's how everybody sees it. And I think there's something really cool about that, because it's a full reset of your mental, spiritual, and just physical. So like your immune system is completely regenerated. It's like refreshed. If you practice this long enough, like there are some sunnah days where most Muslims fast like Monday and Thursday,
Mm-hmm.
right? All throughout the year. Those are like special days. Those people, I feel like, are a lot healthier
Without a doubt.
without a doubt.
On all levels.
Regenerative cells, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, it's so beneficial to everything. And the clarity, the focus, the discipline is key here, because the first day, it is not easy. It is not
No.
easy, right? Especially if you drink coffee in the morning, especially if you're used to that caffeine, especially if you're used to drinking like loads of water,
Yeah.
because you start thinking about it and I'm like, oh my God, do I have to retrain myself and retrain my appetite and retrain this after the month? It gets a little hectic, and it's, there's a lot of benefits to fasting. And I know that you come at it from a different spiritual aspect and you have that connection. I know that once you reach hour 17, hour 19, and actually, studies show that if you reach over 28 hours, that's where it starts to really shine.
Yeah. That's where the real magic
Yeah.
happens. I just find it incredible that all of these cultures and religions have already, they knew about this. That's why they've implemented it into their lifestyle, at least either a month within the year or throughout the year. So it just goes to show that we have the perfect merger of like spirituality and religion and then science now.
Mm-hmm.
Because we know what, due to a bunch of studies that have come out in the past decade or so, more specifically the past 5 years, we know about the benefits of fasting.
Mm-hmm.
Now, did you want to say anything else about the religious spiritual aspect of it?
Well, I mean, since it is a hardship, what tends to happen is you double down on your discipline. So you actually become a different person.
Yeah.
Because if you're abstaining from something and it low-key makes you a little bit depressed because you're just like, can't have it. You're like a little rat right now, you know? You're used to having things. And you don't realize you're used to having things until you can't have it anymore.
Yep.
And that's the real shocker here, okay? And that's why discipline, you have to really be a believer in this sense if you really want to commit, because when you stay away from porn, you stay away from TV, you stay away from music. That's why I mentioned the ears, right? Even feet, like where you go. Things like that have to be implemented because it changes the whole trajectory of this month. This month has to be completely different than the rest of the year. So how do we make that happen? We have to abstain ourselves from a lot of things. And you become this spiritual monster that's essentially alone, but not really alone because you're so connected. And you feel like you're connected, and you're, in fact, much happier. So for someone that hasn't tried prolonged fasting, there's no way to know how happy you will be until you try it.
Yeah, regardless of what religion you follow or what culture you're in, do you find that it's easier for people, at least within the Islamic faith, to make changes because they have that divine connection, or because they're trying to cultivate that divine connection as opposed to just their everyday life?
Yeah, that's an interesting question because, like, so think of Islam. Every kind of lecture I've ever heard, there are some like verses from the Quran where God is striking fear at you. Like there are some points where it's like, you know, there's hell and heaven, and I will talk to the hell, right, and ask it, how much do you want, or do you have enough, essentially? And the hell would like speak back and stuff. There's things in the Quran about that, right? So it's like there are elements of fear. So when I think of Islam, I always think of like it's fear out of respect.
There
Fear,
has to be
you know
some
what I'm saying?
element
Like
of fear.
it's not, it's not just fear like, oh God, like you know, it's not. You're not scared of the devil or a demon. Here.
It's kind of like if you have a really strong father figure,
Yeah,
you don't want to mess around with him.
Bingo.
You don't want to mess around with him.
Yeah. He's the one that brought you here, technically. You know what I'm saying? Like that kind of stuff. So, sorry, but repeat your question again because I know I got caught up in that.
So essentially, do you find that it's easier for people
Yeah.
to make change during a time like this,
Like this?
Ramadan specifically, because they're more connected to the divine, more connected to God?
Yeah, and I honestly don't think it's because you're connected to God or to the divine, right? Whatever it is. I think what it is because the religion is so big and the community is big, it is much easier to go about it when all of your peers are.
Great point. I didn't think about that, yeah.
So it feels like hand in hand. So when you feel alone, someone else goes, oh man, I'm so tired. You're like, oh my God, me too.
Oh, we're on the same mission together.
Yeah. We're on the same mission. And he goes like, okay, but this guy does A, B, C, and D, right? And it's like, oh, but I only did X, Y, Z. So these are like, we're just labeling sins here, whatever.
Yeah.
Those don't exist. Like you start to see everyone doing the same action, right? Which is repentance, essentially. You're abstaining from things. You're not doing the usual, right? Someone can go from watching porn 3 times a day to 0 a day for a month, right? If someone tried to stop before Ramadan, usually what would happen is it would go, all right, I'm going to stop watching porn, right? And then it would go once a day.
Yeah.
Almost made it to the second day, and then once a day.
There's just not enough incentive.
Yes, there's not enough reward, you know?
Yeah.
And here's the thing. When it comes to the Islamic faith, the reward is huge. If you full on, if your prayers and your fasting was accurate and perfect and was accepted, your reward is 10 to 700 times cleansing of your sins.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah.
As if you do it perfectly. So there's an incentive to things, right? It's if you're a part of the faith, of course. And we'll get into the science part after, because that's also interesting, and it follows hand in hand. Like for me, it's not an accident that fasting happened in religion, and then all of a sudden it's just like, oh, science says fasting can save and
It's not an
cure
accident.
cancer, and it could literally, cure
Yeah.
cancer, Alzheimer's, this, that.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? So these studies are just now coming up, and I've been fasting since I was like 6, 7. And back then, obviously, I would fast half a day or something, but I would do it generally because everyone around me was doing it.
Mm-hmm.
That was the thing, it was once a month, like not once a month, a month a year.
Yeah.
You would do it. And it's just, I remember all the time this month felt very special, felt very peaceful, felt very positive, felt whole.
As it should, because that's what it's
And
for.
it's just, yeah. And your body afterwards feels amazing, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what else to tell you. Your sleep is better. It's the perfect time to like quit nicotine, caffeine, any damn addiction.
Everything, yeah.
Because you go through it as a community almost.
Yeah.
You got the backing of so many people.
I can't believe I didn't even think of that. That was that was a great way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
So before we get into the science, let's cover the evolutionary perspective, because I like to be holistic in my approach. So if we think about how we evolved as a species, or how any species evolves, it is a game of survival, meaning inevitably you will have times where you just don't get food.
Yep.
And therefore you have to fast for a certain period of time. So as it relates to human beings, this is what happened. I mean, we hunted, we searched for food, but inevitably there are times where we can't get food, and as a result, we fast. So from the evolutionary scientific perspective, there's a real reason why our biology gets so much benefit from fasting.
Yeah.
It's because we evolved to do it over hundreds of thousands of years. So, I mean, I think that's an important point. I don't think a lot of people think about the evolutionary perspective, but it all makes sense when you put all of these things together. So this is an important question that we do really have to pose to the audience. Why is it important for people to fast in the first place? What do you think?
I think it's important because the very first thing I said was it introduces balance into your life. And what I mean by into your life, I mean year by year, okay? If you were to take 1 year and just document everything that you had eaten, okay? From shitty food to good food. And what I mean by shitty and good is healthy and not.
Yeah, yeah.
But we live in a world where fast food is the thing because we don't have that much time, blah, 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 right? So we eat like crap a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So what we do is you measure your year. You go, all right, if I am used to having McDonald's throughout the year, all right, and then an occasional panini grill, and then, and then 3 months out of the year, I'll cook at home, but with occasional like fast food drive-through windows in that 3 months, right? That's a pretty unhealthy kind of year, and like in my eyes, right?
Yeah,
like
I
if
would
you
agree.
eat out a lot, that's generally unhealthy. So if I go, all right, Ramadan comes up, and I start fasting, what happens is you will eat anything. When you're that hungry, you will eat anything.
Yeah.
So what do? It's the perfect time for you to plan out day by day what you're going to be having, what you're going to be eating, right? And for the most part, this is why I love Ramadan, because it's like a societal thing. You get invited places.
Mm-hmm.
People are cooking for you. You cook for them. Like everyone has the same goal. It's to eat tonight, man.
Yeah.
So that's the beautiful part. So I think in that sense, it introduces balance. It also makes you better at discipline. Because if you practice honestly, if you go through the first day, go through the second day, and then go through the third day. And when I say third day is usually the hardest for some damn reason. It's because usually your water intake is low and you don't think about it.
Mm-hmm.
You have very little time to eat and drink. So you're like, should I eat or drink? And it's like, well, both.
And your body's adapting too.
Yeah, so there's things you could do. Like, sometimes you won't have enough sodium, so then you just piss your water out and whatever,
Yeah.
So you don't take that into consideration. Your third day, you're usually drained, dude. You're drained. So
You know why that is?
that discipline comes in. Well, I would have to assume that it's just your body literally preparing itself.
Yeah, I mean, your body's essentially just transitioning from exclusively burning glucose, which is sugar,
Yeah.
into burning fat.
And that's the pain you experience.
Yeah.
That sharp pain in the stomach where you're like, I'm hungry. That's not hunger. That's just your stomach begging for something to digest. So it starts taking fat cells.
It's more of a
And
mental
sugars.
thing, too.
Yeah.
It's more of a mental thing
Yeah.
for sure.
So if you keep yourself busy, you actually won't feel the day. Like right now, Exhibit A.
It's the way to go.
Yep. We have about, 2 more hours we could be eating, but we're chilling right now.
Yeah. Go ahead,
But
you had
yeah,
something?
it's a, and it's also like it teaches you discipline because it's such a shock. Okay, it shocks your system. It is actually painful the first day. Second day, if you've never done it in your life and you're an adult now trying this, it will be painful.
It's like with anything. If you don't train and you start training,
Yeah.
the first couple days is going to be
Yeah.
miserable.
But there are many reasons why you should be fasting, especially prolonged fasting. It comes in many forms. If you don't want to do the Islamic way, you could do it non-dry, which is like Zayd. Do a water fast. You can drink water, but just no food. And you can actually that way can hit up to 96 hours, I believe.
Yeah, I mean,
Whatever the case is.
we have a framework towards the later end of this video that explains the right way to fast so that you
Yeah.
experience the most benefit. I think fasting is important for people in general, especially the Western audience who haven't done it much, because it is by far probably the most effective way to heal your body. Like I talk about red light therapy and how incredible that is for the body. Take prolonged fasting and like 100x those results. Like it's on a different level. So whether you're trying to lose like 50 pounds or you're trying to heal a gut issue, prolonged fasting is an important tool on that journey. And with that, I mean, there is one caveat though that I do want to mention, and that's I feel like women tend to be more sensitive to fasting, to prolonged fasting more specifically. And of course, there's individual variance, but if you think about a woman, her body's designed to carry an extra baby, yeah.
Extra human.
So she needs more resources. So I can see why they're more sensitive to fasting than men. But I just had to put that out there just in case. You have to differentiate like on a case by case basis. Who are you? Is this good for you? Be wise about the approach.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you could be into dangerous territory after 28 hours.
You could, yeah. I mean, the longer fasts, probably above 72 hours. Ideally, you want medical supervision. You don't want to mess around with that stuff.
You know what I want to mention about fasting?
Hmm.
It's the mental stability that you have. The rock formation that you are really shines.
You are a rock formation.
I am. I'm a cluster of rock.
No, but it's true.
It really is. And for example, do something you like go to the beach and find a rock and chill by the shore and watch the sunset. Now do the same thing fasting, and I guarantee you will have more fun fasting.
Yeah.
It will be more memorable. You would have been more present. And the only picture you would need is the one in your mind. That's it. You don't see any other actionable thing that would actually drive dopamine to you besides this one single thing. That's what's cool about fasting, is that it makes anything mundane on the typical day shine.
You're more sensitive to
You're
it.
way more sensitive to it.
Yeah.
And if anyone wants to argue that, nah, dude, just smoke weed. No, absolutely not. It is not the same. When I tell you your senses go insane, it does.
Yeah, I can back that up as someone who's done a lot.
When
of
I'm
long-term
having a
fasting.
conversation with people, it's like I'm so empathetic. I'm so sympathetic, bro. I'm hella into it. It could be something that means something to them, but not to me. And something suddenly means something to me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's a very interesting trick happening here.
All senses just get much more sensitive.
What's insane is that it stems from the gut. That goes to show you the gut-mind connection is absolutely real. And if that doesn't get you to start fasting, then you're messing up. Literally, I don't know. I'm being very spiritual right now. Maybe.
No, I get it. I'm 100% on board.
It's that type of energy. And if you can sense it in this episode, I'm glad because I'm actually fasting.
Yeah.
And it's like I can laugh, cry, get into it. I will not fight. I'm just about peace right now. And that's most beautiful thing in the world.
Yeah. When I fast, what's particularly interesting is my focus is insane. Like it's almost like I could stare through a wall.
Dude, you can sit, like, for example, I could be at an ER for 82 hours and I would sit there just fine.
You're just like meditating.
You're literally like,
Oh, yeah? Mm-hmm.
I don't know what's going on. You know, like,
It's really
just
nice.
peace. Yeah. Just peace. And the only goal is for you to be able to eat. And when you eat, you barely eat and you're fucking full.
Yeah. And I'll also give you a little bit of
excuse
scientific...
my language, but damn, you know?
I'll give you a little bit of scientific background to that. I mean, when your body fully transitions to burning fat, which we call ketones, it's what your body specifically uses, ketones are highly anti-inflammatory, meaning they're great for brain function, they're great for just general inflammation, general cognitive function. So that's the reason why you feel so peaceful during a fast, prolonged fast more specifically. But I do think this is appropriate to get into like the science, the specific studies.
100%. Let's get into it. I like the science.
So we like the science. There's an incredible amount of scientific literature on fasting. We'll go through a few studies here, some that really strike my mind. The first one is called Fasting in Cancer Treatment in Humans, a case series report. So this study reported on the outcomes of 10 cancer patients who underwent a 5-day fast prior to receiving chemotherapy. The researchers found that the fast was well tolerated and appeared to increase the efficacy of the chemotherapy treatment. So in other words, if you did chemo without fasting, you would experience much more negative symptoms than if you were to go into it fasted. And the reason why this is because when you're going through a prolonged fast, your body goes through a process called autophagy, which essentially is like the recycling system phase of your body. And it keeps healthy cells intact and it destroys unhealthy cells, what we call senescent cells. So this alone is incredible.
It's an incredible piece.
How many people who have cancer that are in hospitals right now don't know about this information?
Bro, thousands.
Hundreds of thousands.
And there's a misconception, okay, about fasting and about food in general, is that you need food to fuel. So what if I told you that fast for 32 hours, drink water only, and you will have more fuel? What if I tell you that? No one would believe me.
Because they haven't done it, yeah.
But you have so much fuel that you will be like, why can't I feel like this all year? But you need to eat, right? You need to grow. You need to do these things. And that's what I mean by, that's why it's such a good act of, like a balanced act, because you're introduced to something that is unknown to you. So when you get familiar with it, you will not let go of it.
That's why.
That's how much it changes you.
That's why I call it a tool. Because in any point in your life, whether you get older or you have an injury, you can rely on fasting to speed up the process, the healing process.
And it's not a mistake. I mean, the way I see it is that we were all created. We're a part of the human race. I'm a human. I could be Arab or Middle Eastern or Chinese, for God's sakes. But I'm still a human, right? Yeah. So I'm just going to go ahead and say we have one creator. Great. Was it an accident that fasting heals? Fasting does this? And we're told to fast throughout many religions?
No accident.
No accident.
None.
So science follows. And science has followed.
Yeah.
We need to literally make sure that patients, people, and humans know about this tool, because just like money, this has to be in your back pocket.
100%. And I'll include all the links to these studies down below in the description. Number 2, prolonged fasting reduces IGF-1 to promote stem cell-based regeneration and reverse immunosuppression. So this study found that a 48-hour fast in mice, same thing applies to people for the most part, increased the production of hematopoietic stem cells and boosted the immune system. So stem cells are very important. If you've ever wondered why kids have injuries that heal so quickly, it's because they have higher stem cell production.
Stem cells than the adults.
Yeah.
And it's usually past 25. That's when
yeah. And there's a whole field now on stem cell therapy and how effective that is. But if you were to just go on a prolonged fast, you can take advantage of those stem cells. So that's incredible in and of itself.
Yeah. You produce more chlorophyll.
Yeah, I mean, you produce a whole host of...
Did you know that? So people that take chlorophyll just to breathe better and stuff, you breathe better with fasting.
Mm. Due to a number of
Insane.
factors, right? Yeah.
Insane. Like, and if you have, for the most part, like if I have allergies, they're pretty much gone.
Yeah. Because of its effect on the
Yeah.
immune system.
And now when I fast and I go, man, this is so hard, right? I'm so hungry right now. I just want to eat. And then I start remembering the days where I actually ate and went, oh my God, I have no energy, bro. And I was like, you know what? Fasting feels better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why are we complaining? You know, you'll eventually eat. You'll get there. But
You'll get there. Don't worry.
yeah, and
You
it's
got to
the perfect
survive
time.
at the end of the day.
Yeah, because when that coma hits, it's ready for bedtime. You know, just make sure you have your water.
Yeah.
Insane, dude.
Third up.
Third up.
Effective fasting therapy in patients with type 2 diabetes. The study investigated the effects of a 7 to 10 day fast on blood sugar control and other metabolic parameters. The researchers found that the fast resulted in significant improvements in glucose control and insulin sensitivity. So, if you are a type 2 diabetic, I'm going to make this recommendation cautiously, but if you have any problems with blood sugar, then going on a prolonged fast is, for the most part, incredible because it will regulate your blood sugar in the most effective way, more than anything else. Really.
It goes the same for high blood pressure.
Yeah. Oh, especially for high blood pressure. Yeah. Next up, effects of fasting on body composition and health markers. Several studies on the effects of prolonged fasting on body composition and other health markers found improvement across the board, including cellular aging.
Oh.
So what fasting will actually do is
Reverse age.
within your DNA, there are these things called telomeres. And forgive me if I have this wrong, but telomeres, think of them as like the shoelace on your shoe.
Okay.
That's associated with age. So if your telomeres begin to unwind at a fast rate because you have an unhealthy lifestyle, you age quicker.
I see.
But if they remain intact, then you age more gracefully.
So like me.
Yeah.
I'm almost 30.
First baby. So prolonged fasting has an incredible effect on telomere length, and that is directly correlated with the aging process. So essentially, you live longer.
Yeah, and it's just proving more and more why fasting is the absolute necessary tool for you to actually be successfully happy internally.
Yes.
Straight up.
And then the last study that I have is fasting for 3 days, as you mentioned, can regenerate the entire immune system. This study reported that a 3-day fast in mice increased the production of new immune cells and resulted in a regeneration of the entire immune system.
Yeah.
For anyone who has an autoimmune issue, such as myself, psoriasis, eczema, if you have anything like that, fasting for, 72 hours, incredible. Incredible. Like, just think about it. You're regenerating your entire immune system.
Yeah. That's like the human ultimate detailing wash you can ever get in your
The
life.
ultimate detox, baby.
So if you're an auto car detailer, well, come on, man. Take care of your ride. You know?
What's the longest you fasted for outside of Ramadan?
Outside of Ramadan?
Like an intentional fast.
The last one I remember was like 33 hours.
Okay.
33 hours. And the past 27, I think I had water.
Yeah.
Because I was like vertigo at that point. No water, you know? So but like at 20-something hours, I remember having water, but I didn't eat. Kept going. And that's when I was like, all right, now I can see why people do 90 hours with water.
Yeah.
Because you're not dehydrated.
I mean, dude, look, the longest I did was 96 hours, 4 days about. I still had some pretty crazy vertigo.
Yeah.
Even with the electrolytes, the water. Maybe I did a few things wrong, but it goes to show that you need to approach this in a very intentional way.
Yep.
If you're going to prolong fast.
And that's why I think Ramadan's cool, because it's very intentional. It's written down for you like how to do it. So it's like, yeah.
And the beautiful thing is that we have an actionable guide for you guys that we're about to go into. So what I've broken this up to is 3 different phases: before the prolonged fast, during the prolonged fast, and then after the fast, which is what we call a refeed. So before the prolonged fast, the number one thing I have to tell people is to start slow. So I do not suggest going into it just straight out the gate with a 72-hour fast.
Never.
Start with intermittent fasting, which is like a 16-8 approach. So 16 hours fasted, 8 hours of an eating window. And then as you develop skill and competency within that and you gain more experience, then start to slowly progress into like a 24, 48, 72 if you feel inclined to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But start slow because the symptoms are not going to be pleasant if you just go
No.
into it.
I mentioned it earlier. It's probably going to be painful, and you're going to have some disciplinary like problems probably where you're just going to give up.
Yeah.
And I just hate when people give up and then they just don't try it again, right? And I don't want that to happen. I want it to be smooth sail so people can see. So everybody should expect a little bit amount of pain, obviously, in the stomach. Maybe even your headache or two.
Yeah, headaches,
stuff like that, because you're abstaining from like caffeine or nicotine, whatever the case is. And I don't know how many milligrams you do, or whatever, but that's very natural.
And here's the thing: why I'm couching this in so much detail and caution is because when you do fast for a prolonged period of time, you can have detox reactions. So fat actually holds a lot of the toxins that we experience in everyday life. So if you go too fast, you can experience a lot of negative reactions that are just not ideal. So start slow.
Yeah.
That's also why I suggest don't go, and this is precautionary, don't go more than 5 days without any supervision if you're going to do a prolonged fast. Next up, before leading into a fast, I suggest going towards more of a higher fat, higher protein diet instead of just focusing on carbs and sugar.
Yeah.
Especially if you're eating like
That'll just
junk
go away
food.
like that. So
Yeah,
you need something to retain.
Yeah, it's a way to ease yourself into the
Yeah.
process. So, any questions, any comments on before?
Before? No,
fast?
before seems pretty simple as long as you have good base health, I think. Don't prolong too long, you know?
Yeah. All things in balance, as you like to say.
Yeah. You know, don't be like 430 pounds and like suddenly do 96. No, like, that's not going to work. It's totally negative right there.
Well, actually, okay, there is one account in history, the longest supervised water fast, only water. I think it was like 345 days. This dude was like 400 plus pounds. He was medically supervised, so don't attempt this. He was given electrolytes. He was given water. I think he was
Probably
given
some sugars and stuff.
No, nothing at all.
Oh my God.
And he ended up losing 350 plus pounds over the course of that year.
What boot camp is that?
It's a boot camp I don't want to join.
It's called Electro Not So Light. You know? Gotta throw in a joke there, but
yeah. So we've said that. Let's talk about during the fast. A prolonged fast is very simple. It's just consuming water and electrolytes. Okay, that's all you need to know. No food or supplements whatsoever outside of electrolytes. In terms of what water to choose, of course, we're big advocates of the spring water.
Yep.
So make sure you choose that. It's more beneficial for hydration status.
We like Mountain Valley, but if you can't find it, there's other ones like, what are those brands?
Castle Rock, anything in glass
Castle
for the
Rock's
most
another
part.
one.
And then what I like to do in terms of remineralization is either add some concentrates mineral drops or just unrefined mineral salt.
Yeah.
So if you experience any headaches, that's the first sign that you need to rely more on salt.
Yeah. I heard half a teaspoon salt.
Probably more than that. I would get
half a
into
teaspoon with 1 cup.
Sure.
Yeah.
Over the course of a few days, I would get into the 1+ gram territory.
I see.
That's how important it is. Okay, we've talked about doubling down on mineral salts. Electrolyte balance is key. Do not, for the love of God, exercise intensely while you're on a prolonged fast.
Nope. You can go for light walks to generate energy. And I mean brisk walks. Like
walks are fine.
Walks
Amazing.
are fine. Like walk, but don't even walk too long. Like I'm talking about like walk 15 minutes, 20 minutes, call it a day.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
You want to walk twice that day? Sure. But like I said, I would not advise doing that. I've had several accidents actually at the gym just because of
you got to be careful.
Vertigo's a thing, starry eyes is a thing, and blah blah blah. So
it's all due to electrolyte imbalance.
You don't want to pass out in the middle of nothing and then spend $1,500 on an ambulance because
what I like to do is I like to work out the first day because I've adapted my body to that. But then after that, it's all walks. Very simple.
So I'm glad you said that. Very simple, right? And as simple as that sounds, people still seem to mess up, which is why exactly we went through it again.
Yes. And we'll put all this detail.
Yeah, but at the same time, don't overthink it. It's very simple. Just don't do things.
Yep.
Just don't, do everything except that. Like, and it's actually, do you think that's hard or easy?
What?
Some people have a hard time because they're reactive than active. So some people have a hard time and will just rather react about how they can't do this when they could do so many other things.
Well, that's the point. I think
You get me?
you need to develop that mental fortitude.
Yeah. And see, that's what I mean by if you really want to do it, the discipline will get trained here. And that discipline will follow you throughout your entire life. And if you follow that throughout your entire life, discipline will only rise.
Only rise, baby.
God damn, just like the sun.
Yeah. And then last one on the during the fast phase. If you're new to this, expect to feel like crap for the first couple of days.
100%. Even the first week, I would say.
Even the first week. I mean, it's a normal part of the process when your body goes from burning glucose to burning ketones.
And you're also saving this as a feeling in your system, right? So you know what this feels like now. So you know that, hey, I shouldn't be tripping. This is just what fasting feels like.
Yeah.
Right? Some people feel like new pain and they go, oh my God, like my leg's broken. And you're like, no, it's just a muscle strain. And they're like, no, it really hurts. And you're like, that's how it feels, you know?
Yeah, no, it's very real.
So and they find out, they get the x-ray and there's nothing there. So you're like, oh, it is a muscle strain. So that's how it feels. And then they save it. They go, that's how a muscle strain feels. It feels pretty damn crazy. All right.
You take that into the future
Exactly.
with other fasts.
So,
yeah.
oh no, what does a broken leg feel like? So like, yes, we're trying to give you as much as possible, like what to expect out of this. And to make it seem that as easy as it sounds, it really is that easy.
Yeah. And the good thing is that once your body fully transitions to burning fat, ketones, you begin to gain the benefits. Mental clarity, a lot of energy, you're more grounded, you're not as reactive, you're more responsive to the environment, things of that nature. Now, last part of this is breaking the fast, what we call refeeding. This, and people don't know this, is by far the most important part of a fast. Because a lot of people make the mistake of just eating whatever the hell they want. It's a notification. Eating whatever the hell they want, eating too much, not transitioning slowly after you do the fast. And an excellent point here is that your body doesn't actually regenerate your immune system during the fast. It regenerates the immune system after you eat.
So after it's been cleansed, it's just boom.
That's when your stem cells start to go in and start to do the work.
I see.
Which is why quality food is so important, and the amount of food is also very important.
Yeah. So that's a good thing. I think my word of advice would be, like I mentioned earlier, if you're the type of person that goes through drive-through windows a lot, okay? If you go on this fast, it's very crucial, just like Zaid said, to put something not even decent, something good into your
Excellent
system.
quality, nutrient dense.
Because what is the point of getting your car detailed if you're going to go back and eat McDonald's right away and start touching the steering wheel? And like, why'd you get a detail?
There's no point. There's no point.
Right? You dropped off your car for 4 hours and came back to pick it up just to mess it up again? Doesn't make any sense, man. Take care of that gut.
That's real.
Yeah.
So very important point that you just mentioned. But when it comes to the refeeding, listen, we had a previous guest, Dr. Aboud Bakri.
Yeah. Love that guy.
He came out with a thread on refeeding, how to do it properly.
Yeah.
He also has a Substack article on it, so we'll link that down below, but I'll go through it really quickly.
That's a very good, beneficial thread to have, and I think a lot of you guys will be looking at it over and over again, just to memorize it.
Yeah, so just a few things.
Yeah.
Avoid refeeding syndrome, harm reduction, because you can harm yourself if you go through a prolonged fast and then eat too much food immediately. Maximize your gut well-being. Change eating habits after the fast. And then he goes through timeline, refeeding syndrome.
Yeah.
What else here?
So it's a cluster of everything that he's learned is in his entire life in the past 24 years.
Very detailed. Excellent point that I don't see a lot of people writing about.
He's been fasting for more than 2 decades, so it's insane.
So make sure you click the link in that bio if you want the specific action steps on how to refeed yourself after a prolonged fast. But in terms of what we have to talk about, I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, if there's anything else I would have to say, it would be...
God, my brain's on fire, bro.
Yeah, that...
in a good way.
That fasting is a thing that I wish to see everybody doing commonly. Because I've been doing it commonly my entire life. I've been doing it for more than 24 years. And it's... and by 24 years, I mean, like, I used to do half days. So let's just say 2 decades. Okay? Full days. Even as a kid, man, like I remember there were times where I would cry because I was just so hungry, right? And that's painful. Like you can't do anything about that. But it's like, sometimes you would cheat and things like that. But when I would cheat, I'd feel bad.
Yeah.
Right? And once I got older and like I was in my teens and I was taking like weightlifting classes and I started getting like girls and I'm like, oh, okay, I didn't know my body changing would just be, this cool. But then I would go on fasting and my body would be even better and stronger, but smaller. And I'm like, what? How am I stronger right now? This doesn't make any sense. How am I more alive? How am I able to climb this tree way faster than last month's record?
Yeah.
What is happening, right? And it's those notes for me is what kept every year easier and easier and actually would look forward to it because that I shine during that month, Everything that I was like, that was slowing down throughout the year would just ramp up that month.
Yeah.
Because I have that much availability and capacity in my brain. So if that's just like the body aspect, which is the brain and everything, the spiritual aspect, I was talking about connecting with people. So if I were to just buy, I don't know, groceries for the day and talk to the cashier, I would gracefully be like, I actually want to say hello and hi and make sure they're okay and things like that, right?
Yeah.
You start becoming like this solidified rock that is a father figure that is just concerned about everybody and making sure everybody's taken care of. And
It enhances you.
yeah, so that's the spiritual aspect I'm talking about, is that it's a connection like between you and God, but even before that, it's between you and yourself. Completely changes. You and yourself become one.
It really does make you a better person.
You and yourself become one. There's no other voice in your head anymore telling you like, nah, you know.
Yeah.
Did you notice that?
Yeah, no. Because of the ketone effect on your body, your mind goes clear.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of crazy when you first experience it, but it's so liberating because how many of us go through life with just this fucking
Chatter.
constant...
Chat. The constant chatter that won't shut up that Alan Watts talks about.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm. And then last thing that I need to say is we've talked a lot about the benefits of fasting here.
Mm-hmm.
We stand by it 100%. But again, I need to emphasize this. It's a tool. With any tool, you can abuse it. So don't fast too much. You want to make sure that you eat nutrient-dense food and feed yourself. But again, rely on it in certain circumstances.
Yeah. And that's why I follow the month, a year routine, because it really balances out the year.
Yeah.
So if I messed up that year, I can rescue it that year. I won't have to wait 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it's just an advantage that I've had. It feels like it's like the secret sauce that I've had since I was a kid that was so normal to me that is being discovered now. And I just go, that's not fair. I need to share this.
It gives people power too. People feel very powerless when it comes to their health these days, especially in Western societies. But if you go through that experience and you understand that, oh, I went through a 72-hour fast, no problem. I had a couple friends who were like that. They were like, holy shit, dude, I didn't even know I could do this. But once you experience that, then a whole bunch of things are opened up to you.
Let me just say this. Fasting is going to be the best trip you've ever been on. Hands down. Without taking anything? Are you kidding me? Imagine having a drug that is just air, like just nothing, right? That's fasting.
Yeah.
So buckle up, and I would wish you a very healthy journey in the fasting industry.
Buckle up, kiddos.
Yeah. So if you do end up trying fasting, please DM us. I'm actually interested in finding out your experience and your thoughts on it and how it went.
Use our framework.
Yeah. Let us
Please
know.
go into the description. Look at the refeeding from Dr. Aboud Bakri. Look at all the other stuff we put out and just follow it to a T.
Yeah. And I guarantee you will feel at peace. You will feel zoned in. Easier to enter flow state. You'll get a lot more done. You'll be having way more energy if you take brisk walks too. And you'll realize that the misconception is food is energizing, when in reality, if you fast every once in a while, that's more energizing.
Bingo.
Balance. Nothing has changed here at the 2 a.m. podcast. It's been about balance since the start. And you know exactly where to find us. We're on YouTube at the 2 a.m. podcast. We're also on Instagram at the 2 a.m. podcast. We're on Twitter at 2 a.m. pod. Go ahead and follow us there. Give us a 5-star review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We would heavily appreciate that.
Yes.
But without further ado, I think we're good to go here. Please let us know, and we wish you a wonderful, wonderful journey.
Enjoy your fast.